Hi, everyone. Welcome to another installment of hashtag Know Your Trock, where we give you the opportunity to meet a dancer or staff of our organization, all of which fulfill really important roles. The interviews we will be conducting over the next few weeks are really important for me personally because it gives us the chance of letting you get to know some of the people that work backstage in our administration aspect, our technical stuff, including myself, that you don't get to see on stage every day. Starting that part of our series, we have the incredible Ryan Hanson right here. Hey, Ryan.
Hi.
Who is our wardrobe supervisor and has been for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years now. So I had the opportunity to hire Ryan along with our artistic director, Tori Dobrin, and we have been more than happy for all of the time he's been with us because he has become an integral part of this organization. But I'm going to ask him a few questions to give him the chance to let you know him a little bit better. Ryan, why don't you start by telling folks where are you from and where did you go to school and post high school?
Yeah, so I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I got into theater when I was in high school, and I started doing costume things at the local community theater there. I did that for 2 years for some college credit, and then I went on to go to Webster University in St. Louis and study costume design there.
Did you decide already while you were in high school starting to do costuming stuff that this could have potentially turned into a career?
I started to do backstage things because I wasn't getting cast, which was for the best. I'm not an actor. But I just wanted to be a part of it all. And my parents sort of pushed me to really focus on it and see if I really did want to turn it into a career, which has happened.
So you go to college, you get your degree in what? Technical theater, concentration in wardrobe, costume design, or?
It was a BFA in costume design.
And then you came to New York as soon as you finished college?
Yeah, I spent a summer doing this. It's like a summer stock theater that I've been to for years at that point. It's just sort of what everyone does in college. So I did that for a summer and then packed my bags and moved to New York right after.
So you get to New York City, you're working in the world of wardrobe and costume, which of course it's a huge industry in New York, and you have the opportunity to hopefully gain a job and employment pretty soon. How do you first hear about the Trocks?
It was about a year into being in New York. I did not really focus on dance at all in university, but Jeff Sturdivant, previous wardrobe supervisor with Trocks, he sort of put it out into the world of where I went to school, hey, I'm going back to school. If anyone is interested in this job, I can recommend you. So that's how I first heard about Trockadero.
Because just for the viewers, Jeff, who was our previous lighting supervisor that Ryan is referring to, went to your alma mater, right? You guys went to the same
school? Not at the same time, but we have
come from the same program.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, the other side of that story is as Jeff was departing, where we were pretty devastated to see him go. He had been with us, not as long as Ryan has been with us already, but a few years, which in the world of Trockadero is a lot because we are constantly touring. Jeff recommends Ryan. We interview Ryan. We fall in love with him immediately. I actually don't think we interviewed anyone else because you were coming highly recommended and you were just fantastic where you came to the interview. And then we hired you, and then you've been on tour with us ever since. I want to focus on you saying that you didn't have a lot of experience working with dance up until the point that you started working with the Trocks. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you didn't have a lot of tutu experience, right? At
Yeah,
all.
I had like none.
Yeah. So how did you become, after we hire you, how did you become more of that understanding ballet, classical ballet costuming? I'm not even talking about for men who are constantly touring, but ballet construction, tutu construction in general. How was that process?
Um, it was a little scary because I didn't have any background in it, but I had talked to Jeff before interviewing, and he said, "You'll be fine. Like, we're gonna go to the storage unit and look at stuff together. I'll tell you about what the job entails." And then, luckily, I did have access to the storage unit where all the costumes are, so I learned most by just opening up boxes and looking at costumes and seeing how they were made, um, trying to see like the differences between sets of tutus or bodices, or tunics, trying to see like from a construction point of view how they worked.
So for the uninitiated in wardrobe or costuming like me, does a program like the one you attended in college, understanding obviously the basics of costume construction for theater,
Mm-hmm.
it does provide the basic skill set that you need to translate that into costuming for dance? Is that an
Um,
accurate perception?
so we didn't really focus on dance, like,
Mhm.
but I could have had I like decided to create a class on it, but I
That's
really
great.
thought I was just going to do theater, which obviously isn't the case. Um, but most programs do have a little bit of like tutu construction, or like luckily there are some like tutorials online, so I sort of got the gist of it. Like a romantic tutu is pretty straightforward, but like a pancake tutu is a whole nother level, and I think that takes a lot
Yeah.
of time and effort and like teaching as well, like learning from someone who knows how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's like a very specific level of craftsmanship that you need to
Yes.
construct costumes like that. And then in our case, to put them in people that are not necessarily meant to be wearing that specific costume all the
Yeah,
time,
that's
which
that's fun.
I'm sure you're going to talk about that too when I ask you what are some of the challenges of your job. So, um, but what would you say are the main differences, if any, in working with a company like us that do all this heavy touring and requires quite a bit of costuming, all of it in a limited budget versus other projects that I know you're involved in because you work a lot in the pageant industry and also with designers and that kind of stuff. What's the main difference about it?
Um, well, for us, we do. I guess money is like a big part of it. Like I've done some film
Or
stuff.
not having money?
Yeah, to put it bluntly, um, just because we don't have the most money, but we have to have costumes that are made in a way that they will be durable and like last years or as long as possible with our touring schedule. Um, I've done some film work, and money is literally nothing to them. Like if it to go get a belt buckle that could be like $5. I could be driving a van and have to pay $35 for parking. They're like, it's fine. Money is not a thing.
Whereas over here, you're just like $1.50,
Yes, trying to
$2.
like
I mean, it's a
really
reality. Yeah.
budget. Yeah.
Wow. Um, what for the benefit of people that watch us, I'm going to ask Ryan to share with you all what his typical day to day on like a US tour, which is where we do like a show and a travel and a show and a travel day. Why don't you let the viewers know what your very glamorous day of working with the Trocks on a US tour is like?
Okay, so I would arrive to the theater probably with some lunch and unpack all the costumes from the previous show if there wasn't a chance for them to already be hanging because they are wet from maybe last night's show, maybe from 2 days ago. So I want to get those out right away, air them out, dry them out, and then I'm setting up all the headpieces and accessories, the canvas shoes, the ballet slippers for all the dancers to pick up as soon as they get into the theater, because they need to get their things, set up their dressing rooms, and start taking class. And um, then by that point, my local assistant has showed up, and I have them start steaming while I am doing any repairs that may be necessary from the previous show. If casting has changed and a new dancer is in a new role, then I need to fit them into a tutu or a tunic or whatever they may be wearing. So for about like 4 hours or so, I'm sewing and my assistant is steaming, and hopefully that's enough time to get it all done. Then there's like a dinner break for my assistant. Sometimes I'll have to maybe spend a little more time sewing or steaming, depending. And then at that point, it's about an hour before the show. Oh, I forgot about laundry. I'm doing laundry all during this time too.
Yeah,
Oops.
of course.
Yeah, and then it's about an hour before the show. We're doing last minute preparations with costumes for the dancers to come get into at half hour. Then it's pretty hectic trying to get everyone dressed because not everyone will come.
The last 10 minutes.
Yeah, so that's always fun. And then once everyone's dressed, I'm backstage watching to make sure everything is good in case anyone rips their tutu or a bodice seam pops. I'm there to get them back on stage as soon as possible. And then after the show is done, we are packing everything very quickly, wet, into the boxes and getting them on the bus for the next venue.
And he was being very kind when saying all of these things. And then the next day you get to rinse and repeat, you know? Yeah. So it's an incredibly, if not necessarily physically laborious, which sometimes it is, it can get pretty tedious over the course of, 2-3 months that we go on the road. Because it's a lot of always working under the least ideal conditions in order to have the show ready to go. What would you say is one of the biggest challenges when we go on tour? I mean, we have a million of them on a daily basis, but what would be one that would make it consistently difficult to achieve your job to the best of your abilities?
I would say when, like, in the instances like when a dancer is injured and casting is totally changed, like we didn't really prepare for this because there's always first cast, second cast, third cast, but just sometimes it happens and people are thrown into new roles and I may not have shoes for them. It may be a totally too large tutu that I have to somehow make fit them, or vice versa. They could be too small. So it is like stressful, but I don't know. I kind of do enjoy stress from time to time.
Well, and also the reality, because that's what people like us do, right? You prepare for these situations, but if you don't know, you probably do know if you're watching this, because presumably you're a fan of the Trocks, but we have an incredible diverse group of people on stage. And that's one of the things that we love the most and want to maintain the most. But I cannot stress how difficult that is from a costuming point of view for a company that doesn't have a lot of money. Because like Ryan just said, it has to go from wearing the same lead female tutu from somebody who is very petite to somebody that could potentially look like a linebacker in a football team. And it's true. And it's not always the case that we have two different tutus for that same role. We're not even going to say multiple tutus, but not even like a small and a large. So So when our casting gets thrown off for a curveball is really, really difficult for us, especially because we don't tech the day before. So Ryan has what, half an hour, an hour to get it done. Yeah. By the same token, do you have a favorite piece of our Trocks rep of the ones that you've already done with the company in terms of costuming, and why?
I've always been a fan of Humpbacked Horse. Like those are just so fun and colorful. Those tutus and the tunics and the headpieces, and they're very like different from a traditional Swan Lake. I think they're just really fun and interesting, and I've never really seen anything quite like it before. So
that's Ken Busbin, right? That's Ken Busbin design from Boston, who works with Boston Ballet as well. So and it's not a piece that we do often. So when we pull it out, it does give you the chance to work with those a little bit, which is fun. Are they hard to prep that particular piece because the costumes are so different?
Not really. Like there's those there's the lycra unitards for the core, and those are really straightforward. There's it is a lot of intricate steaming, but there's enough stretch lycra in there, so it's actually not as crazy as I would think based on looking at photos, which is another thing I enjoy.
Oh yeah, that's true, because you get to look at them in photos just before you actually get them, just to have an idea of how difficult it's going to be. Yeah. Interesting. Tell me now that we've been without any touring work since the middle of March, where we literally had to pack the costumes wet. I just realized that.
Oh, they're still hanging in storage. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We have to pack the costumes wet in the middle of March, and Ryan got to hang them all, and there they are in our storage unit. So at least they're airing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
How are you maintaining yourself employed or not during this time of hiatus for the company? And consequently, have you ended up exploring any other avenues to bring income, but to maintain your mental sanity during this time?
Normally when we're not touring, I am doing some freelance stitching.
You're always busy.
Yeah. So I'm used to working all the time. So this has been really difficult because we had to stop the tour short. And everybody I know who's in the same boat as me, like stitchers, freelancers, all the
projects,
the client stuff and the projects have been canceled or postponed. So there has been no work. I did help a friend last week with some sewing, so that was exciting for me. But and
that's the first in March.
Yeah. The first, it was just last week since March of actually working, so it's been difficult. But I've been trying to do some more cooking and baking since I'm spending so much time in my apartment. I'm taking care of plants now because anytime we'd be on tour, they would die. So I have too many plants now. It's got to stop.
And it's what's going to happen when we go back to touring?
I have to find someone I can trust to water them. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, what you're saying is entirely true, because our industries are dwindling. Yes, we are interested in exploring other avenues, all of those things that we constantly say we are dying to get back home between tours to cook and watch Netflix and sew, and maybe you not sew, but garden and maybe get a pet, and now I don't know for you, but for me it's yeah, it's great. I've done that, and now I can bake sourdough bread, and I have a plan. And can we go back on tour now, please?
Oh, yeah. It was a relaxing month to start, and now I'm so anxious to get out.
Yeah, but we have to keep making the best out of terrible situation. So I think cooking and gardening is definitely other ways of exploring, creativity and trying to keep it together. Ryan, thank you so much. I'm going to tap you for one final question before we leave. But before we do that, I do want to remind anyone who's watching that, as Ryan just said, cancellations and closures because of the pandemic have really greatly disrupted access to revenue for all arts organizations, including dance companies like the Trocks. So if you're enjoying this free content that you're seeing, not just from us, but from all of these other groups that are trying to figure out how to navigate this current situation, and it's within your power to do so, please donate. We could really use your help, and more importantly, when we are back to touring, come see us live. And hopefully having heard this interview with Ryan gives you the opportunity to understand a little bit of how crazy it is to get those guys ready backstage. Ryan, before we say goodbye, anyone that may be considering a career in wardrobe or costuming, costume construction for the future, what words of advice, wise words would you have for them?
Right. I would say, if possible, to start early, and to learn from as many people as you can, especially from a construction point of view or even design. You want a lot of different perspectives, and that would influence your design or the way you sew. And I would say to hold out hope, because that's what I'm doing, and to not give up that dream, because I do want to return to the arts. So
and hope that you all help us get back there. So with this, I take that when we get back to touring, I can snatch you for touring again, correct? Having him watch that online. Thank you so much, Ryan. Oh, and don't forget to vote, everyone. If this is going to come up before the election and you're in the United States of America, please vote. So stay positive, stay safe. Thank you very much for taking a few minutes of your day to watch What's Up with the Trocks. Check out all the other interviews that we have with the guys. And thank you again, Ryan, for joining us.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome.
Bye, guys. Keep on trucking, everyone. See ya.